Alright, today we're going to be doing multiples of unit fractions as well as multiplying a whole number by a fraction. So let's start with multiples of a unit fraction. If I have, I'm going to draw a picture here, and well, that's not a very good rectangle, but it's going to work. If I have 1/3 right here, well, how many 1/3 do I have? I have 1. So that would be 1 times 1/3 equals 1/3. But if I add another third, draw a line there to make thirds. If I have another third, I now have 1, 2. I now have 2 1/3. So 2 times 1/3 equals, and how many do I have? 2. So the only thing I need to worry about is timesing the whole number times the numerator. So 2 times 1 is 2, and the denominator stays the same. Now I have 2/3. Let me just, and I can keep adding a third fraction to the problem. Now I have 1, 2, 3. Now my problem would be 3 times 1/3 equals, and I multiply the whole number times the numerator, 3, my denominator stays the same, 3/3. Let's have you give one a try. Here's another example. If you were to multiply this one, it's set up differently, but it still works the same. I have 1, 2, 3, 3 times 1/4. So, how many 3/4? Well, 3 times 1, the numerator is 3, and the denominator stays the same. So 3/4. Here's the problem for you. Now solve this new problem right here. Alright, let's check your work. Well, here I have 1, 6, 2, 6, 3, 6, 4, 6. Well, there's 4 of them, so my multiplication problem is going to be 4 times 1, 6 equals, and I take my whole number, the number of fraction pieces I have, times the numerator. 4 times 1 is 4. The denominator stays the same, 4, 6. Did you get that? Now that we know how to multiply, we're going to kind of go backwards now. If I have a fraction of 5, 6, and I want to change this to write the fraction as a product of a whole number and a unit fraction, well, I'm going to take my 5, 6. Well, I know that with unit fractions, 5, 6 is equal to 1, 6 plus 1, 6 plus 1, 6 plus 1, 6 plus 1, 6. Well, this is where I can now make my multiplication problem. I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times 1, 6 equals, 5 times 1 is 5, and the denominator stays the same, 5, 6. So instead, I can just this, 5, 6. Well, I know that my unit fraction would be 1, 6. And I have 5. So I can do 5 times 1, 6. Now you try one. Okay. With 4/5, did you solve equals, my unit fraction of 4/5 is 1/5. I have 4 parts, so there's my whole number I'm multiplying, 4 times 1/5. Is that what you got? Here are 3 problems for you to try. Number 1, 7/8 equals. So you need to write that as a whole number and a unit fraction, multiplying. Number 2, 3/4. And number 3, 11/12. in lesson 3.2, oh, not 3, but 8.2, we're going to have very similar to the first lesson, but here we're just going to have a whole number, say 4 times 2/5. Well, in our first lesson, we'd had problems of 4 times 1/5, and the steps are the same. We did 4 times 1 equals 4, and the denominator stays the same. Well, this works the same way. 4 times 2, we just do the whole number times the numerator, equals 8, and the denominator stays the same. I think you've got it. You give it a try. Okay, how did you do? Did you take your whole number, times it by the numerator, 3 times 3 equals 9, and then your denominator stays the same, 9/8. If you got that, give yourselves a pat on the back so your teacher can see it. Here are 2 more problems for you to solve. 3 times 2/5, so there's number 1, and then number 2, 6 times 7/8.